Yes, good morning students. This is CA Rajeev, Sachdeva, faculty member, Board of Studies of the Institute of CAs of India.
Myself, CA Preeti Sharma.
Yes, students, today's topic is professional ethics. We will take up professional ethics today. Till last lecture, students, we were covering company audit. Students, our emphasis mainly throughout my lectures, our emphasis was to teach you as to how to study. So students, it was my endeavor, I put in my best effort to tell you how to study laws with the help of company audit. Of course, a few topics might have gone, you see, we were not able to cover a few topics. Still, you should carry forward that in the same manner as we discussed in our lectures. So students, my emphasis has always been on how to study instead of teaching you a specific topic. So students, try to understand there is a set methodology by which you can continue with your studies. There is different strategy in case of law portion, professional ethics, and the other chapters of the company audit essays. Now, so far as company audit and professional ethics are concerned, there is a lot of learning required. I do appreciate this. There is a lot of learning required. Without learning, you cannot achieve your target. You cannot achieve what you want to, perform in the examination. So your performance may be affected if you do not learn specifically the clauses, the sections of the company that and so on. So before I continue with the professional ethics, I make out that learning is very essential part so far as clauses of the professional ethics are concerned. Of course, you need to have that perspective also, that what should be the ethical background of the chartered accountants and what is unethical for them, be it in practice, be it in they are in service or anything else. So students, again I am telling you, first of all, you understand the rationale behind the inaction of the clauses, why the clauses have been introduced, and what is the rationale that this clause was enacted by the institute. So keeping in view the perspective, the intention behind the creation of the clauses, you should understand in that manner. First you understand and then learn. And learn each and every clause. You should learn by heart, and learning at least 4 times is required, as I used to tell you in my past lectures. So before I continue my further advices to you, I would first like to read out the disclaimer. Hey students, you are advised to refer to the institute study material, including supplementary study if any is there, and other relevant notifications, legislations, provisions, amendments which are required for your examination.
Students, please remember the relevant notified sections of the Companies Act 2013 and other legislative amendments, including relevant notifications, circulars, rules, guidelines issued by the relevant regulating authority up to 31st October 2015 will be applicable for your May 2016 examination, which means any of the notification issued by the relevant regulating authority up to 31st October 2015 related to your subject auditing is very well applicable for your May 2016 examination. Students, please note, Jan 15 edition of study material is applicable for your May 16 examination along with Jan 16 edition of the practice manual. Plus, you need to refer RTP revisionary test paper May 2016 for any academic update. There we have mentioned many academic updates like ceiling on number of company audits, where exemption has been given to different type of companies like dormant company, one-person company, small company, private limited company with certain paid-up capital limitation. There you have also guidance note on reporting under section 143, 3F and H of the Companies Act 2013. You will also find reporting under CARO 2015 and so on. Professional ethics. Ethics are the moral principle which govern the behavior of a person. While professional ethics, this consists of personal, corporate standards of ethics, behavior expected from a professional. Professional ethics regulates the relationship between a professional and his clients, employer, employee, public in general. Now, what are these schedules? These schedules are given in Chartered Accountants Act 1949 as well as in the Code of Ethics. These schedules govern the behavior of a professional while conducting his duty. These restrain a member from getting into such act which may lead to professional misconduct or other misconduct. Now, what is professional misconduct and other misconduct? This you can relate in general terms, like professional misconduct is that kind of misconduct that may be conducted by a chartered accountant while performing his professional duties. Like as a chartered accountant in practice, you are paying a particular sum of profit or commission to a person who is not allowed to receive that commission in terms of the chartered accountants regulation. This is a professional misconduct. Now, what is other misconduct? Other misconduct is that kind of misconduct that CA may enter into socially, which bringing disrepute to the profession of CA or the institute that the Chartered Accountant Institute of India. Like, as a CA in practice, you have been convicted by a court for any offense, or you have issued a check which bounced back due to insufficient of funds. Or there can be one more example, like you have kept books of accounts of your client in your personal almirah in bedroom. This is an example for other misconduct which governs by the schedules. These schedules, professional ethics. Now, these schedules has been divided into two parts: first schedule and second schedule. First schedule, second schedule. Now, first schedule is also divided into four parts: part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. Part 1 governs professional misconduct in relation to chartered accountants in practice. The acts, the clauses given here are governing the conduct of a chartered accountants in practice, which may lead to professional misconduct. Here we have 12 number of clauses which govern the act of a chartered accountant in practice. Then we have part 2. Part 2, professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute in service. Here we have number of clauses 2. These clauses govern the practice of a member who is in service. Then we have part 3. Part 3, professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Members of the institute generally means either you are in practice or in service. Then these clauses are applicable to you, governing the act of your professional. Then we have part 4. Part 4 talks about other misconduct. As I gave you example of other misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Members of the institute generally, that governing member who is in practice or in service. This is applicable to both kind of members. Here we have number of clauses, 2 only. Now we have second schedule. Second schedule is also divided into 3 parts. Part 1, Part 2, and then Part 3. Part 1, professional misconduct in relation to chartered accountants in practice. As you can see, Part 1 here of first schedule is similar to Part 1 of second schedule, where professional misconduct in relation to chartered accountants in practice is given. But in first schedule, the number of clauses are 12, and in second schedule, the number of clauses are 10 only. Now we have Part 2. Part 2 governs professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Here you can relate Part 2 with Part 3 of first schedule. Under Part 2, similar to Part 3 of first schedule, it is governing professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Generally, as I told you earlier, generally means the chartered accountant is either in practice or in service. Here we have the number of clauses, 4. Now we have Part 3. Part 3, other misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Here also you can relate Part 4 of first schedule with Part 3 of second schedule, which is talking about other misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally, but we have here only 1 clause. Now we will be proceeding to first schedule, Part 1, that is professional misconduct in relation to chartered accountants in practice.
Yes, students, very beautifully explained by Preeti Sharma. And having this background, now I proceed further to first schedule, Part 1 and Clause 1. As I told you in the beginning, that learning is very essential, students. Now the methodology should be, first you understand the clause in an ethical manner, how ethical, how it is affecting the ethics. It is ethical, unethical, both angles. Try to get it, just establish in your mind. And then once you understand, then learn. And learning, as I was telling you in my last lectures, has to be 4 times. So students, at this stage, you might have gone through the clauses at least 1-2 times. So you need to revise 2-3 more times so that it gets permanent. It gets permanent cemented in your mind. It gets permanence in your mind, and then you are able to perform well in the examination. Now, clause 1. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he. Now, this line, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he. Believe me, students, some students are just not able to remember this line, which is applicable to each and every clause. So this line should be well established in your mind. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he. So there is no modification which you require in this particular line. Allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant, unless such person is also a chartered accountant in practice and is in partnership with or employed by him. So I was telling you, first understand the intention of the lawmakers behind this clause. Allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant. This clause is intended to. What is the intention behind this clause? The main intention of this clause is to safeguard the public. Main intention behind is to safeguard the public against unqualified accountant. Safeguard. This is the intention. You should understand the intention behind. And students, intention behind is, just understand this. First of all, first step is understand. Safeguard the public against unqualified accountants. Unqualified accountants, but practicing under the cover of qualified accountants. Safeguard the public against unqualified accountants who are working under the, who are practicing under the cover of qualified accountants. Now this is the intention. First you understand each and every, while learning, before learning each and every clause, students, you first understand what is the intention behind enacting this clause. Now if I go behind the intention of this clause, that is safeguard of the public interest against unqualified accountants, means the persons who are not having the CA degree, you can say, but they are practicing under the cover of qualified, means they are practicing as posing them as chartered accountants. So work of, it ensures that the work of accountant will be carried out by chartered accountant who may be his partner. It should be the work of accountants be carried out with that by a chartered accountant, and that chartered accountant may be his partner or his employee and would work under his control and supervision. So this is the intention. Having understood the intention behind this enaction of this clause, so what this clause is, now I will learn this clause. How? By reading again and again, and then dividing the whole clause into parts. So a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant. Allows any person to practice in his name. I am allowing any person to practice in my name. I am allowing any, I being a chartered accountant, say I being a chartered accountant, allow any person, say I allow X, Mr. X, to practice in my name as chartered accountant. So if I am allowing any person to practice in my name as a chartered accountant, unless, but the condition is unless means jab tak ki, unless and until such person is also a chartered accountant in practice. Now I can allow that person to practice in my name as a chartered accountant. Name, you know, firm name or individual name or partnership firm name. Say, for example, ASG and Company. So this is the name, practice in the name. This is the name of the firm under the cover of which I am practicing as a chartered accountant. So this is ASG and Company. Unless, so I will allow only those persons, unless means I I will allow only those persons who are my partners or who are employed by me to practice in this cover. Under the cover of this firm name, I will allow only those persons who are in partnership with me or they are employed by me. So, having understood this, now I am learning this. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant. Now, there is one word you should remember, which is the linking pin in between the two lines is unless. This is the important word, students, in this clause, and you should appreciate here the word usage of the word unless. जब तक कि such person is also a chartered, जब तक कि वो chartered accountant ना हो, unless such person is a chartered accountant in practice and is in partnership with or employed by him. So that person should also be a chartered accountant in his practice, chartered accountant in practice, and he is in partnership with or employed by him. So students, before I move further, I check if there are online queries. Yes, coming back to our PPT part.
Very well explained. Clause 1. Basic clause where a chartered accountant is restrained from allowing any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant until and unless such person is also a chartered accountant in practice and is in partnership with him or employed by him. Here you can see a diagrammatic representation. This is how you can make your brief notes who can be allowed to practice in a CA's name. Non-chartered accountant, he is obviously not allowed to practice in his name. But if he is a chartered accountant and that too he is in practice and that too he is partner or employee, then he is allowed to practice in his name. And in any other case, not allowed.
Yes, coming to clause 2. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. If we now, this is a, you see a lengthy clause before us, and whenever you come across a lengthy clause like this, just divide it into parts. Now first we understand what is the intention behind this clause. So chartered accountant, this is the standard line which you need to write. Chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow. Here, students, sometimes I observe students are unable to learn this. So I tell you how to learn. There are two words, pays or allows. But you just remember these two words. If you are able to remember these two words, pays or allows, next few words I will tell you how you can correlate, how you should learn. So if he pays or allows, just remember this, pays or allows. I think there are about, you see 50-60 words in the whole clause. And I ask you to just first remember the two words only, pays or allows, but that's all. So students, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he pays or allows. Now the subsequent words I tell you how you should correlate. Now if I am paying or allowing, these are the first two words, pays or allows. Or if I enter into an agreement to pay or agreement to allow. Now we are talking of agreement. Now if I have remembered these two words, pays or allows, agreement will, you all appreciate that agreement will automatically come to my mind, that I may also agree to pay or allow. Now subsequent words are following, you can see. So I should remember, first of all, pays or allows and the entire clause 2, learning of the entire clause 2 will be easy for you people. So students, please understand the methodology. Please devise you can also devise the methodology yourself also. I am telling you the ways. You should apply your mind, your brain, your heart totally into this, so that you are, all your faculties of the mind are able to just establish in your mind that whole clause. So let's devise the methodologies how you should learn. So I am telling you a few methodologies. Pays or allows, these are the two words you need to establish in your mind, and subsequent words are following. If there is agreement entered into by me, if there is agreement to pay or agreement to allow. Now I have reached over here. Pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow. Now this payment, again I am coming back. These are the two words I am emphasizing, or allows. Now this payment or which I am allowing, pays or allows or agrees to pay, this payment can be direct, can be indirect. This can be by way of agreement, agrees to pay or allow. Now this payment can be direct or through some other person. So I am using the words directly or indirectly. Now if you remember these two words, pays or allows, you can reach easily up to this, directly or indirectly. So pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow, directly or indirectly. Now I will correlate. Now if I am paying, now I will link the clause. Now if there is some payment you see, then on what account? Now automatically there will be a question in my mind, on what account? If there is payment, on what account? Payment of what? So pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow, directly or indirectly, any share. Now payment of what? There are three words which you need to remember in the second line. Now I am paying any share, any commission or any brokerage. Share, commission or brokerage. Now I am a practicing chartered accountant. I am paying share, I am paying the commission, I am paying some brokerage. Now you all understand that out of which part I will pay the share, out of which money I should say, out of which amount I should say, I will pay the share, commission or brokerage. So next few words, I am just preparing the base for the next few words. Now I am paying the share, commission or brokerage in what? What I am earning. Now what will be the earning for me? Earning for me will be fees for, since I am a CA firm, the earning will be from clients in the form of fees or profits of, we can say also profits of his professional business. Now we have reached up to here, and I can reach up to here by remembering only two words, pays or allows, and you move automatically up to till this professional business. So I will learn systematically, I will learn slowly, I will learn in parts. So this is how you should proceed to learn. So chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he pays or allows, or there is agreement to pay or allow, or agrees to pay or allow, directly or indirectly, these automatically this will come to my mind. Any share, commission or brokerage. Any share, commission or brokerage in what? In the fees or profits of his professional business. Now, what will constitute professional business? I am paying the share in my fees or profits of my professional business to whom? So that it will constitute, I will be guilty of professional misconduct. To any person, if I am paying that fees, if I am paying that share, commission or brokerage to any person, now understand the intention. Other than person who is member of the, other than a person who is member of the Institute of CAs of India, who is not a chartered accountant, to any person other than a member of the institute, or person other than my partner, or other than a retired partner, means, in other words, I put it this way, the word is, important words are other than. Now, the linking part, up to professional, learning up to professional business, I have told you, is not major thing. You can learn by way of correlation and by just remembering a few words, you can reach up to there. Now, to any person other than, the important words are other than. Now, other than member of the institute, now member of the institute or partner, or it means if I pay the fees, share, commission, brokerage in my fees to member of the institute, to my partner or retired partner or legal representative of the deceased partner, then there is no objection. That is why the word is other than. So other than, if I am paying other than, only then I am guilty of professional misconduct. So students, to any person other than, there are, now remember what sort of things are there. Member of the institute for 1, or partner 2nd, or retired partner 3, or legal representative of deceased partner 4, or 5th, a member of any other professional body or with which such other person having such qualification as may be prescribed for the purpose of rendering such professional services from time to time in or outside India. Means who are the members which are authorized persons by the Institute of CAs of India. So there are 5 categories of persons. 2 member of the institute, other than, the keywords are other than. So 5 exceptions are member of the institute, means I can pay any share, I can pay commission, brokerage in my fees to the member of the institute. This is allowed. This will not be professional misconduct. If I pay this share, fees, share, commission, brokerage in my fees to my partner, to retired partner, so that is not subject of the, I will not be called guilty of professional misconduct in that case. Or the legal representative of deceased partner, or member of any other professional body, maybe he may be or a member of any other professional body, or with such other persons having such qualifications which are prescribed, so prescribed qualifications for the purpose of rendering such provisions time to time in or outside India. Means who are prescribed persons, I should say. The persons who are, so for this purpose the council has prescribed certain persons. The Institute of Company Secretaries of India, members of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Institute of Cost and Work Accountants of India, Bar Council of India established under Advocates Act 1961. So these are the, you can go through those. So I am telling you basically how to remember the clause, so you should concentrate on that. So this is a methodology by way of 2 clauses I have explained you how to learn.
Yes, clause 2. Clause 2 is restraining a chartered accountant in practice to pay or allow or agreement to pay or allow either directly or indirectly what? Any share, commission, brokerage in the fees or profit of his professional business, but to whom? To any person The main clause is closed here. The chartered accountant is practice has been restrained from paying his fees, commission, brokerage, any share in his profit to any person. However, exemption has been given to certain persons, like that person can be a member of the institute, partner of his retired partner, legal representative of deceased partner, or a member of any other professional body. What are the who are the members actually covered in this other professional body? This is given in Regulation 53A(1). 53A(1). These regulation has been prescribed by the council, explaining the number of, giving the details of professional bodies with whom you can share fees. Now, or with such other person having such qualification. Now, what are those qualifications with whom a chartered accountant in practice can share fees? This is given in Regulation 53A sub-regulation 3. So Regulation 53A sub-regulation 3 is providing the list of qualifications where a chartered accountant in practice can share his fees. He can pay him fees, his share of profit, his commission, any brokerage for the purpose of rendering such professional services from time to time in or outside India. Here you can relate this list. Regulation 53A sub-regulation 1 of the Chartered Accountants Regulation 1988 prescribes the following professional bodies with whom you can share your fees as a chartered accountant in practice. These are the list, which includes a company secretary, cost and work accountant, Bar Council of India, Institute of Architects, and then Institute of Actuaries. These are the professional bodies with whom you can share fees. And now the qualification part. Qualification, these are given in Regulation 53A sub-regulation 3 of the Chartered Accountants Regulation 1988 for the purpose of sharing of fees. And what are those qualifications? These include company secretary, cost accountant, actuary, bachelor in engineering, bachelor in technology, bachelor in architecture, bachelor in law, masters in business administration. These are the qualifications with whom a chartered accountant in practice can share his fees, commission, brokerage out of his profit. Now, example, CAK. He is a practicing chartered accountant. He gave 20% of his audit fees received by him to his friend Mr. L, who is a company secretary. Why he has given him this fees? For getting an audit assignment from his source. Now we should check whether this person is covered in those regulations with whom sharing of fees is allowed. And what are those regulations? Regulation 53A(1) and then Regulation 53A(3). 1 for professional bodies and 3 for qualifications. Now check this in the list. Company secretary. Yes, you can see here Regulation 53A(1) where professional bodies are given. The company secretary is covered here. This means the chartered accountant can share his fees with the company secretary. Here also you can relate this in the qualification part. Here also company secretary is covered, which means the chartered accountant, that is CAK in the given example, can share his fees with company secretary. This is actually by default, company secretary is covered in both the regulations. In the instant case, CAK is sharing audit fees with his friend Mr. L, who is a company secretary, whose qualification is covered in the Chartered Accountants Regulation prescribing for the purpose of sharing of fees. Therefore, CAK will not be held guilty of any professional misconduct under Clause 2 of Part 1. Now what? what if the company secretary is an MBA? Will there be misconduct? You should check again in these regulations. Regulation 53A1, where the professional bodies is given, but no, MBA is not covered here. Now check regulation 53A subregulation 3. Here under point 8, MBAs are covered. Now MBA is not covered in regulation 53A1, but it is covered in regulation 50A3. Will the CA be held guilty for sharing his fees with MBA? Please check the clause which states that you can share fees with member of any other professional body or with such other person having such qualification, which means either the person may be covered in regulation 53A1 or in regulation 53A3, which means both are separate things. If you are covered in professional body, then yes, you can share your fees with him, or if you are covered in these qualification, that is regulation 53A3, then also you are allowed to share your fees with that person. Like I gave you in the example MBA. In the case of MBA also, there will be no misconduct because it is covered in qualification given in regulation 53A subregulation 3. Therefore, no misconduct on part of CA. I hope this example is very much clear to the students. Clause 3. What clause 3 is talking about? Here, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts or agrees to accept. You can see clause 3 is similar to clause 2, but in clause 2, the CA was paying fees, but in clause 3, he is accepting fees or part of profit of the professional work who is not a member of the institute. This clause is similar to clause 2, but in clause 2, the CA in practice was paying the fees, part of profits, commission, but in clause 3, the CA in practice is receiving. He is accepting or agreeing to accept. You can learn the clause 2 and clause 3 simultaneously. Clause 2, here you are paying part of profit, but under clause 3, you are receiving part of profit. These clauses may be learned all together. Just like in case of clause 2, exemption were given to some professional bodies or some qualification given in the regulation, same is in case of clause 3. Here, provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as prohibiting a person or member from entering into profit sharing or other similar arrangements, including receiving any share commission or brokerage in the fees with a member of such professional body or other person having qualification. Here also you can see member of such other professional body, that is regulation 53A subregulation 1. Regulation 53A subregulation 1, which governs the professional bodies or such other person having qualification given in regulation 53A subregulation 3 as is referred in item 2 of this part, that is clause 2. So you can learn this clause 2 and clause 3 simultaneously. In clause 2, you are paying the part of profit. In clause 3, you are receiving the part of profit. Same exemption is given in clause 2 and same exemption is given in clause 3. Under clause 2, exemption were given to professional bodies given in regulation 53A subregulation 1, and then some qualifications given in regulation 53A subregulation 3, and same is in the case of clause 3 where you are receiving part of profit or commission or any part of profit or fees. Here you can relate this. Just as a member cannot share his fees with a non-member, he is also not permitted to receive. Just as a member cannot share his fees with a non-member, he is also not permitted to receive and share his fees with others, except sharing with member of such professional body or other person having such qualification as prescribed in clause 2, that is regulation 53A sub-regulation 1 and then regulation 53A sub-regulation 3. Very important clause 4. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he enters into partnership in or outside India with any person other than chartered accountant in practice or such other person. Here also, please see, entering into partnership with any person is prohibited other than, but which means this is an exception or exemption. That is, a chartered accountant in practice can enter into a partnership with a chartered accountant in practice or such other person who is a member of any other professional body having such qualification as may be prescribed. Please note, here also the council has prescribed regulation. The professional bodies are similar to given in clause 2 and 3, that is the regulation. No, actually the professional bodies, these have been changed. The professional bodies given in clause 2 and clause 3, exemption given in regulation 53A sub-regulation 1 is not covered here. Here a new regulation has been prescribed, but the qualification part is similar to clause 2 and clause 3, that is regulation 53A sub-regulation 3. This is the qualification part given in clause 2 and clause 3. Clause 2 and clause 3, yes. But the professional body, a new regulation has been prescribed, that is regulation 53B. This is a new regulation for the purpose of entering into partnership by a chartered accountant in practice. Now you can see in clause 2 and clause 3, the person may be either in regulation 53A sub-regulation 1 or in regulation 53A sub-regulation 3. Means either covered in those professional bodies or in those qualifications. But here in clause 4, these professional bodies having such qualification, which means the regulation 53A sub-regulation 3 to be read together with regulation 53B, means the common qualification or the common professional bodies only are allowed to enter into partnership with a chartered accountant in practice. Now further, including a resident who but for his residence abroad would be entitled to be registered as a member under clause 5 of subsection 1 of section 4, or whose qualifications are recognized by the central government or the council for the purpose of permitting such partnership. Here the main thing you need to learn is regulation 53B and regulation 53A3. Regulation 53B is prescribing the professional bodies and regulation 53A sub-regulation 3 prescribing the qualification part. Like I explained you, 53A sub-regulation 3, which is prescribing the qualification part, is already discussed in clause 2 and clause 3 also. You can remind this. Regulation 53A3 talking about the qualification, these are similar given in clause 2 and clause 3. There is a company secretary, cost accountant, actuary, bachelor in engineering, bachelor in technology, bachelor in architecture, bachelor in law, and then MBA. These are the qualifications allowed to enter into partnership subject to qualifying the professional bodies given in regulation 53B. Now, what are the professional bodies in these regulation 53B? Here, the professional bodies covered are the company secretary, member the Institute of Company Secretary of India, established under the Company Secretaries Act 1980. Then cost accountant, who is a member of the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India, established under the Cost and Works Accountant Act 1959. Then we have an advocate who is a member of Bar Council of India, established under the Advocates Act 1961. Engineer, who is a member to the Institute of Engineers or Engineering from a university established by law or an institution recognized by law. Architect, he should be a member to the Indian Institute of Architects, established under the Architects Act 1972. Actuary, who should be a member to the Institute of Actuaries of India, established under the Actuaries Act 2000. If you see the difference between Regulation 53A subregulation 3 and then Regulation 53B, you can see, I'm just giving an example. MBA is covered here in Regulation 53A subregulation 3. MBA is covered here. But if you check Regulation 53B, where is MBA? No MBA is covered. No institute, no professional body of MBAs is covered. This means an MBA cannot enter into partnership with a chartered accountant in practice, because the clause itself says he can enter into partnership, or the exemption part is given here in the form of other than that person who is a member of any other professional body having such qualification. Means both the regulation to be read out all together to check whether that person is allowed to enter into partnership with the chartered accountant in practice or not. Just I gave you the example of an MBA. MBA is covered in Regulation 53A3, which talks about the qualification covered in point 8 here, but in Regulation 53B, no professional body related to MBA is covered here. This means an MBA is not entitled to enter into partnership with a chartered accountant in practice. Now, if you take another example, well, I'll give you here. Mr. P, who is a chartered accountant in practice, entered into partnership with Mr. Q, who is an advocate. You can see here, he is an advocate, where Mr. P handles matter related to audit and Mr. Q handles matter related to litigation. Now, whether Mr. P is allowed to enter into partnership with Mr. Q, who is an advocate, now you need to check whether that advocate or bar council member is governed by the Regulation 53A subregulation 3 and Regulation 53B. First, check Regulation 53A subregulation 3, which talks about the qualification. Here you can see Bachelor in Law from a university established by law or institution recognized by law. He is covered here. Now, whether he is covered in Regulation 53B also? Yes. An advocate who is a member of Bar Council of India, established under the Advocates Act 1961. This means advocate, as given in this example, Mr. Q can be entered into partnership with Mr. P, that is a chartered accountant in practice. Here you can see this instant case. Mr. K, who is a chartered accountant in practice, has entered into partnership with Mr. Q, who is an advocate. However, the Chartered Accountants Regulation 1988 permits a chartered accountant in practice to enter into partnership with other prescribed professional, which includes an advocate who should be a member of the Bar Council of India. Therefore, there would be no misconduct on part of Mr. P. But if Mr. Q is an MBA instead of advocate, if MBA, then what? Not covered in both the regulation. Therefore, Mr. P will be guilty for entering into partnership with Mr. Q. Now we will be proceeding to clause 5.
Yes, students, very well explained. I should say, with illustrations, with examples, it has been explained. These clauses have been explained in a beautiful manner. And students, you should try to, again I am telling you, you should try to learn these clauses by heart. First learn clause 1, clause 2, then learn clause 1, 2, then add clause 3, then again learn clause 1, 2, 3, then add clause 4, then again learn clause 1, 2, 3, 4, and this exercise should continue. Now coming to clause 5, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he secures either through the services of a person who is not an employee of such chartered accountant or who is not his partner, or by means which are not open to a chartered accountant, by means which are not open to a chartered accountant, any professional business. Now again I am telling you about every clause. Just remember, try to find out the interconnecting words. Try to find out the beginning of the clause, where I can begin, where I can end, and where I can form the linkage. That will provide a great help in learning. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he secures any professional business. Now, what I need to remember is, if he secures any professional business, means if I am securing any professional business by which are means which are not open to chartered accountants, or either through the services of person who is not an employee, who is not my employee, or who is not my partner, or the means which are not open to chartered accountants, these are the, basically you need to remember, if I secure any professional business through which, by means which are not open to a chartered accountant, so I will be called guilty of professional misconduct. So students, first we will understand what is the intention behind enacting the clause. Before I explain this further, we check if there are online quiz. Yes, students, coming back to PPT part. Yes, Marcus Aurelius. Just remember his words. Marcus Aurelius. Just remember his words before we move to clause 5, 6, and 7. What he said, Marcus Aurelius, he said, a man must stand erect. And a man must stand erect, comma, and not to be kept erect by others, and not to be kept erect by others. These are the important words, students. I think you should learn these words also. What he said, Marcus Aurelius, these are the important words I am telling you, which is the intention behind enacting this clause. A man must stand erect and not to be kept erect by others. So this should be the spirit a chartered accountant must possess. A man must stand erect and not be kept erect by others. Others should not keep me erect. I should just stand erect by myself, on my own. I should establish myself on my own. This is the whole idea behind. I should stand myself before the society as a professional, as a chartered accountant in practice. I should stand on my own. I should be the person behind me. I should be the person behind me. I must stand on my own. And students, please remember, this is applicable for a man in every walk of life. Whatever you do, this is true. Nobody comes for anybody's help. And about this profession, I am telling you, this is constituting guilty. I am treated as guilty of professional misconduct. If I secure either through the services of a person who is not my employee or who is not my partner, or by means which are not open to each other. There are three things I am covering. You remember, first secures any professional business. Now I am securing any professional business. How it will constitute professional misconduct? Either through the services of a person, I am securing that professional business, either through the services of a person who is not my employee. Say I am approaching any accountant, just bring work for me, and that accountant is not my employee. Or I am approaching any person who is not my partner. And the third one is, or by means which are not open to chartered accountant. So he must seek work not through any agency. In other words, I put it this way, he should seek work, he must rather seek work not through any agency, but he should secure the work through respect. Society looks at a chartered accountant with great respect, I am telling you. So I should not lose my respect in the society. So I should maintain my respect as a chartered accountant in practice. This is the whole idea behind. So how I will maintain that respect in the society? If I have got professional talent and skill, and I have full command over the professional talent and skill, then naturally my confidence will improve and work will come to me automatically. My confidence will improve, my reputation will improve, my respect will improve. So students, again I am coming back and I recall the words of Marcus Aurelius. These are important words to digest before studying clause 5, 6 and 7. A man must stand erect and not be kept erect by others. So I should stand on my own foot. So all forms of canvassing are regarded unethical and are prohibited. So there is a case I am discussing with you. A chartered accountant wrote various letters to officers of different army canteens, giving details about him and his experience, his partner and office, and the norms for charging audit fees. So he was held guilty in terms of clause 5 and 6. This is Deepak Mehta case, council decision. So students, learn this clause. If I am securing any professional business, either through the services of a person who is not my employee, either through the services of a person who is not an employee of such chartered accountant, or who is not my partner, and important words you understand, by any means which are not open to a chartered accountant, means any words, any means, if I adopt any means to secure the work by way of which my respect in the society gets diminished, by which I may not command respect in the society, those means I should not adopt any means. So I should adopt only those means which create and maintain my respect and enhance my respect in the society. I should care for my respect in the society. This is the important thing I am telling you. So this is the whole idea behind this. Provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as prohibiting any agreement permitted in terms of item 2, 3 and 4 we have already discussed. These are exceptions. 2, 3 and 4 we have told will hold good. So if a chartered accountant is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, if he secures any professional business either through the services of a person who is not his employee or who is not his partner, or by means which are not open to a chartered accountant.
Clause 5, restraining a chartered accountant in practice from securing professional business either through the services of a person who is not his employee or who is not his partner, or by any means which are not open to a chartered accountant. Provided, means the exception has been given here, provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as prohibiting any agreement permitted in terms of item 2, 3 and 4. What are those items? That is the clauses. What are those clauses? Clause 2, 3 and 4. Clause 2 was talking about paying of fees, sharing of fees. Clause 3 was talking about receiving of fees, any share of profit, and clause 4 was talking about partnership with other qualification or other professional bodies member. In those cases, this clause does not apply. Example. This example is already explained by Rajeev sir very well. Chartered accountant in practice, he wrote several letters to officers of different army canteens, giving his details and experience, his partner details, his office details, and the norms for charging audit fees. Well, obviously, he would be guilty for professional misconduct under clause 5 and in clause 6 also. Well, we would be discussing clause 6 later on in further slides. In the instant case, seeing practice, he is securing or soliciting the professional business or work. Therefore, the CA will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 5 and then clause 6 of part 1 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Clause 6, which talks about the solicitation. We will be proceeding further.
Yes, students, clause 6. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he solicits clients. here the important, if I am talking of, if there is a talk on clause 6, if there is a talk on clause 5, the important word is secures any professional business, of course by means which are not. So the main word is secures any professional business. And clause 6, the main word is solicits any professional work. Solicits clients or professional work. Now, the important word is solicits. So far as the clause 6 is concerned, so if I am solicits clients or professional work, now these words, you see how to fit these words. This is a learning art and technique. Now either directly or indirectly. So these I should know, I should be knowing how to adjust these words. So solicits clients or professional work, of course either directly or indirectly. Now by way of what? By circular, by advertisement, personal communication, or interview, or by any other means. Now there are certain exceptions to clause 6. Solicits clients or professional work either directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication, or interview, or by any other means, provided that nothing contained herein shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting. Means these two solicitations are allowed. Any chartered accountant from applying or requesting for inviting or securing professional work from another chartered accountant in practice, I can solicit that. I can solicit the work from another chartered accountant who is also in practice. Now, any chartered accountant from applying, requesting for, or inviting or securing professional work from another chartered accountant, this is allowed. And secondly, a member from responding to tenders. The second is tender, response to tenders or inquiries issued by various users of profession or from time to time and securing profession. So second is responding to tenders, and first is solicitation from CA in practice. So there are two exceptions. So if you see this clause 6, so this is clause 5 secures any professional business through a person who is not my employee, through any means which are not open to chartered accountants. I should command respect and so on. This is clause 5. Now clause 6 is solicits clients or professional work either directly, of course, or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication, or interview, or by any other means. Students, if you look at this clause, this is an elaboration of the principle which principle we studied in the preceding clause. For securing professional work with the help of others should not be said. Help of the others should not be sought. This is elaboration of the principle which was discussed in the previous clause, that help of others should not be taken. So this clause further enjoins on a member not to solicit professional work by circular. Now, you need to remember clearly these words. Otherwise, you will not be able to write in the examination. Ultimately, you have to write effectively the clause in the examination. That is why I am telling you again and again that you need to learn each and every clause. And of course, it will take time. Don't be in a hurry, students. I always advise my students to learn slow. Never learn in hurry, because you will not be able to retain in your mind if you learn in hurry. So learning, please remember students, learning has to be slow. Only then it gets cemented in your mind. And secondly, I am telling you, second point about learning is, you need to learn at least 4 times, I am suggesting. And if due to paucity, because those students who are listening to me for the first time, viewing first time this lecture, so examination is drawing near, so you can cut short for 3, but 3 learning, at least 3 learning should be there at this stage also, I should say. So this clause is, so I was stressing on learning. Now by circular, these words need to be clearly retained in your mind. Circular, advertisement, personal communication, or interview, or by any other means. The members should not adopt any indirect methods to adventure their practice. I should not adopt any other indirect methods to adventure my professional practice with a view to gain any publicity and thereby solicit clients or professional work. I should not adopt any means, any indirect methods, and do adventures in my practice. No adventure, students. No sudden rise in the practice. No sudden gain of publicity in my practice. So such a restraint must be practiced. This is very important, which will give you respect. Clause 5, I was telling you. So I should practice this. Like you are practicing, you should practice this. And once you practice, you will start enjoying, students. So ethical practice, if you want to do, you also need to practice on ethics, I tell you. Only then it becomes your character. There is no substitute for honesty and integrity, I tell you. There is no substitute. This is your personal trait, of course. So what I am suggesting you, such a restraint, you should also practice. Practice is very important, I tell you, in any sphere of life, in any walk of life. The importance of practice cannot be undermined. So students, such a restraint that I will not solicit my clients by circular, advertisement, personal communication, or interview by any other means. This should be practiced so that I am able to maintain independence. Only then I will be called an independent. And you know the importance of independence. We discussed in intermediate. So I understand that in the initial years of practice, this will be very much inconvenient for you. And this will also be irksome for you. A question may also arise in your mind as to how the professional work will increase if we are not permitted to advertise or solicit work. So students, please understand, professional work cannot be secured either by advertisement or by circular or by solicitation. It can only be obtained by member gradually building confidence in my ability and integrity. So gradual practice is always a good practice. That is a long-term practice. So service rendered by an accountant is of a personal and intimate nature. Personal and intimate nature. And its value can be appraised only by personal contact and experience. You should increase your practice by way of personal contact and experience instead of solicitation through these means, circular, advertisement, or interview, or by any other means. So satisfaction of the clients would be the best achievement, best advertisement. If one client is satisfied, he may give you a recommendation to the other. So this is how your practice will be increased. So amendment made in Chartered Accountants Act 2006 in clause 6 of part 1. Ban on solicitation is relaxed in the following situation, provided that we were studying. Now this is provided that. So this is, you understand the intention. Ban on solicitation is a little bit relaxed in the following situations of client or professional work. 1. If work or professional work occurs within the fraternity, I am soliciting work from another chartered accountant in practice. So this is within the fraternity, I should say. And second, if professional work is secured from responding to tenders or inquiries issued by various users of professional services or organization. Some forms of soliciting work
Clause 6. As clause 5 was talking about securing the professional work, clause 6 is talking about soliciting the professional work. There are some forms of soliciting work indicating in a book or an article published by him the association with any firm of chartered accountants. This is a form of soliciting work. With another form like soliciting professional work by making roving inquiries, like you are inquiring with different person, ma'am, is there any work, is there any vacancy? Then it is also a form of soliciting work. Securing needless publicity or canvassing or soliciting for continuation as an auditor through a representation which an auditor is entitled to make under section 140 subsection 4 and then clause 3 of the Companies Act 2013. Here it's not like if you are giving a representation letter to a company in which you was an auditor, it's not like it is a soliciting work. The main focus here is on the language you use in the representation letter. If the language of the representation is such that it is securing a needless publicity or soliciting for continuance as an auditor, then it would tantamount to soliciting work. But if the language of that representation is a significant manner, you are indicating how you have been acting independently throughout the term of office as an auditor, and you also indicate your willingness to continue as an auditor if appointed by the members of the company, then this is not a solicitation. Another example of soliciting work, furnishing details about themselves or their firms in a manner highlighting their professional attainments in a public interview or to press or any forum. Here you can read this with the help of an example. CX. He is a partner of Messrs. XYZ and Company, Chartered Accountants. During a TV interview, he handed over his biodata of his firm to the chairperson who was interviewing him. Such biodata detailed the achievements of him, of the concerned partner, and his recognition as an expert in the field of taxation in the country. The chairperson read out the said biodata during the interview. Obviously, you are yourself giving your biodata to the chairperson to read out during the interview, then it means you are trying to solicit the people who are watching your interview. In the instant case, biodata was handed over to the chairperson during the TV interview by CX, which included details about his firm and the achievement of him as a partner, as an expert in the field of taxation. The chairperson read out the same in detail about his achievements and his recognition as an expert in the field of taxation. Such an act would definitely lead to promotion of his firm name and publicity thereof, as well as of the partners. Therefore, CX will be guilty of professional misconduct under Clause 6 of Part 1 of First Schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Another example. Special notice has been issued for a resolution at the third AGM of Fidel Limited providing expressly that CA Smart shall not be reappointed as an auditor of the company. Here you may recall the provisions of section 139(2), that is the rotational provisions, where ratification of the auditor of the company need to be done at every AGM during the period of 5 years. Here, in this case, the company at its third AGM providing expressly that the current auditor shall not be appointed as an auditor of the company, which means he shall not be continuing from the next year. Therefore, CA Smart, he has a right to submit representation. He submitted his representation in writing to the company, which is given in section 140, subsection 4, clause 3 of the Companies Act 2013. In the representation, he incorporated his independent working as a professor throughout the term of office, and he also indicated his willingness to continue as an auditor if reappointed by the shareholders of the company. This example I already explained you in this part, securing needless publicity. In the given example, he is just stating his independent working as professional throughout his term of office, and he is also indicating his willingness to continue as an auditor if reappointed. This is a very decent manner. He is writing his representation to the company and his willingness to continue as an auditor. Instant case, C Smart as an independent professional submitted representation under section 140 subsection 4 clause 3 of the Companies Act 2013 and indicated his willingness to continue as an auditor if reappointed by the shareholders. It may be noted that the retiring auditor has a right for representation to be circulated among the members and to be read out at the meeting. This is given under section 140 subsection 4 of the Companies Act 2013. The auditor has a right for representation to be submitted. However, the focus is on the content of the letter. This will decide whether the auditor is soliciting or not. The content of the letter should be set out in a dignified manner, how he has been acting independently and how he wants to continue the term of his audit if reappointed by the shareholders. Therefore, the representation made by CA Smart does not lead to solicitation, and hence he will not be guilty for professional misconduct under clause 6 of part 1 of First Schedule to the Chartered Accountant Act 1949. This is how you can write your answer in the examination. Here I have skipped the part of mentioning, quoting the clause. First, please write the reference of clause, then its provision, and then the fact of the case, and then the conclusion part. Clause 7. Clause 5, Clause 6, and then Clause 7. These clauses are interrelated. In the Clause 5, the chartered accountant in practice was securing the professional work. Under Clause 6, he was soliciting the clients by way of circular, advertisements, and any other mode. But under Clause 7, he is advertising his professional attainments. These clauses need to be read out altogether. Clause 7. A chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he advertises his professional attainments or services, or here under Clause 2, 2 points are given. Under the first part, he is advertising his professional attainment, and under the second part, the restriction is on using of designation other than chartered accountant on professional documents, visiting cards, letterheads, signboards, unless it be a degree of a university established by law in India or recognized by the central government, or a title indicating membership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants or of any other institution that has been recognized by the central government or may be recognized by the council. Here under Clause 7, it is divided into two parts. First part is talking about the advertisement of his professional attainment, then he shall be guilty for professional misconduct under Clause 7. And then the second part is talking about the use of designation other than the chartered accountant. So the main point to discuss here is the use of designation of chartered accountant. The bar is on use of designation. Please note, students get confused into this. They ask, ma'am, can they prefix CA along with their name? The main focus here is on the designation part, not the prefix CA. If you are practicing CA, then you can use designation only of chartered accountant, and if you are not in practice, then you can use any of the membership, provided that a member in practice may advertise through a write-up setting out the service provided by him or his firm and particulars of his firm, subject to such guidelines as may be issued by the council. Here, a format for write-up has been given by the council where you may advertise through a standardized format which is allowed by the council of the institute. One more thing you need to read out along with Clause 7 is the Section 7 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. This is talking about the designation part. As I explained you under Clause 7, which is divided into two parts. First part is about advertising the professional attainment, and second part is the use of designation of chartered accountant. Under Section 7 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, a member in practice cannot use any designation other than that of a chartered accountant. Cannot use any designation other than a chartered accountant if you are into practice. This is for the chartered accountant who are into practice. They cannot use any other designation other than that of a chartered accountant, nor can he use any other description, whether in addition thereto or in substitution therefore. But a member who is not in practice and not using designation of a CA, he may use any other description. The bar is on using of designation of chartered accountant, not on using the prefix CA along with the name of member of the institute. You can have an example here. CAX uses a visiting card in which he designates himself besides a chartered accountant as tax consultant. You can refer here under Clause 7, read with Clause 7. Chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he uses any designation or expression other than of chartered accountant on professional documents. Therefore, he shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. Here you can see Clause Please remember, student, clause 7 to be read with clause section 7 of the Companies Act 2000. Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Section 7 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949 read with clause 7 of part 1 of First Schedule to the said act prohibits advertising of professional attainments or services of a member. It also that of a chartered accountant in documents through which the professional attainments of the member would come to the notice of the public. Thus, it is improper to use the designation tax consultant, since neither it is a degree of a university established by law in India, or neither it is recognized by the central government, nor it is a recognized professional membership by the central government or the council. Therefore, COX will be held guilty for professional misconduct under the said provisions of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Clause 8. Clause 8 is talking about a chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts a position as auditor previously held by another chartered accountant or a certified auditor who has been issued certificate under the restricted certificate rules 1932 without first communicating with him in writing. Here the main focus is on the communication part. If you have been appointed as an auditor, then you have to communicate with the previous auditor with him in writing. That should be in writing. You cannot just call him over phone and communicate about your auditorship, that you have been appointed as an auditor. No, you cannot just call him over phone. You cannot just communicate him orally. The communication should be in writing. Yes, there are certain bar on writing also. You cannot just send him a letter with registered post. First, go to the objective. Why this clause is asking for the auditor to communicate with the previous auditor in writing? Why I need to communicate with the previous auditor? The previous auditor has been gone, but why I need to communicate with him? The objective of this clause is that a member may have an opportunity to know the reasons for the change in auditor, to be able to safeguard his own interest. The current auditor has to check why the previous auditor was changed, why he was removed, why he resigned from his office of auditor. The current auditor has the right to know the reasons why, just to be able to safeguard his own interest or the interest of the public, or to check the independence of him. Now, the communication should be in writing, but writing how? You as a current auditor, as a current chartered accountant in practice, may send a letter, but the letter should not be under certificate of posting unless there is some evidence to show that the letter has in fact reached the person communicated with. It's not necessary if you have sent a letter under certificate of posting that the letter may be reached to the concerned person. Is not necessary. That's why this method of sending letter under certificate of posting is not a sufficient evidence to show that the letter has been reached to the person communicated with. Therefore, the manner of communicating, members should communicate with the retiring auditor in such a manner as to retain in their hands a positive evidence of the delivery of the communication. You should have evidence that the communication or the letter has been delivered to the addressee. Therefore, the letter should be in the form of registered post acknowledgement due. Then only you have the proof that the letter has been sent to the requisite person, to the concerned person with whom the communication was required. There may be another form of communication which you may give in hand against a written acknowledgement, which would be the normal course, providing the evidence that the communication has been done before starting your work. Example, Mr. W. Mr. W has sent a letter under certificate of posting. Please remember, the council has prescribed that certificate of posting is not a relevant, not a requisite, not a sufficient evidence that your letter has been sent to the required person, to the concerned person. Whether the letter has been delivered or not, this is not the evidence if you have sent a letter under certificate of posting. Therefore, in the given case, chartered accountant has sent letter under certificate of posting to the previous auditor, informing him his appointment as auditor before the commencement of audit by him. Please remember, certificate of posting is not the correct evidence you may give for appointment, for communicating with the previous auditor. The letter should be in the form of acknowledgement, registered post acknowledgement due. This is how you may write your answer. Mere posting of a letter under certificate of posting is not sufficient to establish communication with the retiring auditor unless there is some evidence to show that the letter has in fact reached the person communicated with. Communication by letter, sent, registered post acknowledgement due, or by hand against a written acknowledgement would, in the normal course, provide a positive evidence. Therefore, CAW shall be held guilty for misconduct under Clause 8 of Part 1 of First Schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949.
Yes, students. Moving to clause number 9, the chartered accountant in practice deemed to be guilty of fraudulent misconduct if he accepts an appointment as an auditor of a company, without first ascertaining from it whether the requirements of section 225 of the Companies Act. This is the erstwhile Companies Act. Now we have discussed in detail. Section 139, 140 I have discussed in detail. 142 read with section 141 of the 141 I have discussed in detail. So 142 we have discussed. So students, all the sections have been discussed. Now if I am accepting an appointment as an auditor of a company without ascertaining from it whether the company has fulfilled the requirements of the Companies Act and other things as contained in the Act, section 139, 140, 141, 142. So I would be held guilty of professional if I am accepting an appointment without first ascertaining whether the requirement of the law have been complied with. So compliance of the law is necessary. So students, I think there is no need to explain further about this clause, and moving to clause.
Well, example will be explained in this. CAE, he is a proprietor of Messrs. E & Company, statutory auditor of the company which deals in car. During the year 2015-16, CAE, that is the proprietor of Messrs. E & Company, purchased a car from the store costing 7,25,000 for his son. He neither make any payment for the same till the year end. Here you need to check whether the compliances of Companies Act 2013 have been taken care of or not. Clause 9 is basically talking about the compliance of section 225, the Companies Act 1956, which has been replaced here by Companies Act 2013, which now read as section 139, 140, 142, read with section 141. I hope students remember these sections. Section 139 is on appointment of auditor. Section 140 is on giving of special notice, removal of auditor, resignation of auditor. Section 142 deals with remuneration of the auditor, and section 141 deals with disqualification of the auditor. I hope students please remember. So in the given example, the auditor has purchased a car worth 7,25,000, which leads to disqualification under section 141 subsection 3(2). Guidance note. on independence of auditor recommends that a question of indebtedness may also be raised where an auditor of a company purchased goods or services from the company audited by him. In such a case, provision of section 226(3) of the Companies Act. Students, please note, till the time the Code of Ethics, the clauses gets amended, gets revised in view of Companies Act 2013, you need to quote all old provisions and then the new provision. Means you need to quote the old provision along with the new provision, just like it is given in this case. In such a case, the provision of section 226(3) of the Companies Act 1956 need to be complied with concerning the disqualification of auditor, which has been replaced in Companies Act 2013, which is now section 141(3)(d)(2). Here also the indebtedness limit has been increased from rupees 1 lakh to rupees 5 lakh. And in the instant case, the indebtedness of CAE has been exceeding rupees 5 lakh. Therefore, he shall be guilty of professional misconduct because he is not complying the provisions of Companies Act 2013. He would be guilty under clause 9 of part 1 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountant Act 1949. Clause 10. Clause 10 talking about charging of fees on percentage basis or on contingent upon the findings. Clause 10. A chartered accountant practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he charges or offers to charge, accepts or offers to accept in respect of any professional employment fee which are based on a percentage of profit or contingent upon the findings or the result of such employment, except as permitted under any regulation made in. Well, exception has been given under such a certain situation where you may charge fees on percentage basis or upon the findings which are contingent. These are the exceptions. In case of a receiver or liquidator, the fees may be based on a percentage of the realization or disbursement of the assets. There is one more exception. Please note these exceptions are given under Regulation 192 of the Chartered Accountants Regulation 1988. The second exception is given for an auditor of a cooperative society. The fees may be based on a percentage of the paid up capital or working capital of or the gross or net income or profit. One more exception has been given to the valuer. In the case of a valuer for the purpose of direct taxes and duties, the fees may be based on a percentage of the value of property value. There's example where the CA has prepared a project report for his client to obtain a long-term loan for the finance of rupees 50 lakh from a commercial bank. He also, after the sanction of the loan, he raised a bill of his service at the rate 2%, which is a percentage basis, which is not allowed under clause 10. As you can see here, the restriction from charging fees based on a percentage of profit or which are contingent upon findings is not applicable for the exemption framed under Regulation 192, which exempts certain professional services from operational clause 10. But the services rendered by CAD are not covered under the said exemption, that is Regulation 192. Therefore, he shall be guilty for professional misconduct under clause 10 of part 1 of Chartered Accountants Act 1949.
Yes, students. Clause 11 is a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he engages in any business. If he engages in any business or occupation other than the profession of chartered accountants, unless that is permitted by the council, you can do so. But if you are engaged in any business which is not permitted by the council, if I am doing any business or occupation which is other than the profession of chartered accountants, so I will be held guilty of professional misconduct in this case. And there are so many cases. One question which frequently appears in your examination: future business, shares futures, commodity futures. If a chartered accountant earns any profits and doing futures business, shares futures, commodity futures, then derivatives say, so he is held guilty of professional misconduct. So if he engages in this business. So nothing contained herein shall this entitle a chartered accountant. But here a chartered accountant can be appointed as director of a company, not being managing director or whole-time director. But the condition here is that no partner of his should be interested in the company as an auditor. So this is simple clause. I am moving forward to clause number 12. A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows a person not being a member of the institute in practice or member not being his partner to sign on his behalf. If I am allowing a person who is not member of the institute in practice or a member not being, and he is also not my partner, to sign on my behalf or on behalf of my firm any balance sheet, P&L report or financial. I think this is again a simple clause, and as I elaborated in the beginning and in the middle also, that you should learn each and every clause. So learning is required. Allows a person to sign on my behalf. If I am allowing any person to sign on my behalf.
Well, the council has clarified the power to sign routine documents on which a professional opinion authentication is not required to be expressed may be delegated in certain cases. And what are these cases? If you are issuing a audit queries during the course of audit, then obviously it's not requiring the authentication or providing any professional opinion, then there is no misconduct for issuing such queries to the client. Asking for information, issue of questionnaire, letter forwarding draft. These are all the cases. Some of the example, you may refer our study material. These cases are very well given there. You may read out, question may be asked from this example. This example is based on issuing of audit queries, which I explained is not a misconduct.
Yes, part 2 first schedule, students. This is professional misconduct in relation to member of the institute in service. This is, please remember, this is for members of the institute in service. Clause 1. Pays or allows or agrees to pay directly or indirectly to any person. Pays or allows or agrees to pay directly or indirectly to any person any share in the emoluments of the employment undertaken by him. Now this is similar to clause 2, which we studied. Chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. This is analogous to that. So you can correlate also. So member of the institute shall be deemed to be guilty of if he, being an employee of any company, firm or a person, pays or allows or agrees to pay directly or indirectly to any person any share in the emoluments of the employment undertaken by him. So I am basically in my salary, if I am paying anything in my salary. Clause 2, accepts or agrees to accept or agrees to accept any part of fees, profits or gains from a liar, from a chartered accountant or broker engaged by such company. Now I am accepting any part of fees. Their fees I am accepting, their profits I am accepting from liar, advocate, a chartered accountant or broker engaged by such company, firm or person or agent or a customer of such company, anybody, firm or person by way of commission or gratification. So if I accept, I pay, I would be guilty of professional misconduct. So moving further,
Yes, students, the clause 1, as you can see, is similar to clause 2 of part 1, and clause 2 here of Part 2 is similar to Clause 3 of Part 1. But the basic difference is, under Part 1, exemption were given to certain class of professional bodies or certain qualification, but here no exemption has been given for a chartered accountant in service. You can relate this with the Part 1. One important note is, a member in the foregoing circumstances would be guilty of misconduct regardless of the fact that he was in whole-time or part-time employment and he was also holding COP along with his employment. Then also he will be guilty under this part, under these clauses. Example CX, he is holding COP while in employment also and recommends his lawyer friend to his employer in respect of some case. His friend, out of his professional fees received from his employer, that is a CX's employer, paid a particular sum of fee by way of gratification to CX. There also he would be guilty under Clause 2 of Part 2 of Chartered Accountants Act 1949. The member would be guilty of misconduct regardless of the fact that he was in whole-time or part-time employment or that he was holding COP along with his employment. In the present case, as you can see, CAX, besides holding COP, is also an employee, and by referring a lawyer to the company's respect of some case, he receives a particular sum by way of fee, by way of gratification from the lawyer out of his professional fee. Therefore, he shall be guilty of professional misconduct under Clause 2 of Part 2 of First Schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Another Part 3. As a Part 1 was dealing with professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute in practice, then we had Part 2, which was dealing with professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute in service. And now we have Part 3, which are dealing with professional misconduct in relation to members of the institute generally. Members of the institute generally, which means the chartered accountant may be in practice or in service, then these clauses shall be applicable to him. Here we have the three clauses. First clause is, a member of the institute, either in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, not being a fellow of the institute, acting as a fellow of the institute, then he shall be guilty of professional misconduct. Then we have Clause 2, where if you have been asked for information from the council or the committee or the discipline director of the institute, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, or the appellate authority, and you are not supplying the information called or does not complying with the requirements asked for, then you shall be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Then Clause 3. While inviting professional work from any other chartered accountant or while responding to the tenders or while advertisement through a write-up or anything as provided in terms of Clause 6 and Clause 7. Clause 6, which was dealing with the solicitation of clients, and Clause 7, which was dealing with the advertisement of Part 1 of the schedule, and you are giving the information which is not true or false, then you shall be held deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct.
Yes, students, the stress is on. He is giving the information knowing to be false. He himself knows that I am giving the false information, and still he is giving the information. So here the misconduct is that he is giving the false information. Yes.
There's an example, Mr. X, who is employed as a paid assistant with a chartered accountant firm on 31st October 2015, he leaves the services of the firm, but despite many reminders from the ICA or the secretary of the ICA, he fails to reply regarding the date of leaving the services of the firm. Therefore, he shall be deemed to be guilty under Part 3 of the first schedule to the Chartered Accountant Act 1949. Yes, in the instant case, Mr. X has failed to reply with the letters of the institute asking him to confirm the date of leaving the services. Therefore, he shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct under Clause 2 of Part 3 of First Schedule to the Chartered Accountant Act 1949.
Yes, students, Part 4, First Schedule, Part 4. This is other misconduct. Other misconduct in relation to the member of the institute generally. And there are two clauses in this. First clause is he is held guilty by, whether he is in practice or not, it would not make the difference. He is held guilty by any civil court or criminal court for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months. If he has been held guilty by the court, whether it is civil court or criminal court, and for an offence, these are the keywords I am telling you, and for a term not exceeding 6 months. Second, in the opinion of the council, in the council's opinion, Institute of CA's councils, then if in the opinion of the council he brings there the keyword is disrepute to the profession. Now I tell you, if any question appears in the examination and there is a connection between repute and that question which appears in the examination, so you can attract clause 2. Part 4 clause 2 may be attracted. So this is very important in general. If you are not able to mention, if there is no clause which is striking in your mind, then you can take help of the clause 2 in writing your answer in an effective manner. So in the opinion of the council, if that brings disrepute to the profession or the institute as a result of his action, whether or not related to his professional work.
There's a clause 1 which is saying that a member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of other misconduct if he held guilty by any civil or criminal court for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months. What about if he is punishable for imprisonment exceeding 6 months? Then please note this is covered in part 3 of schedule 2. Part 3 of second schedule or the second schedule. Yeah, this is covered in part 3 of second schedule. We have an example here. CAX, he availed a loan against his shares had as investment from a nationalized bank. He issued 2 checks towards repayments of the said loan, but the check returned dishonored due to insufficiency of funds. Here, CAX is bringing disrepute to his profession, disrepute to the institute, therefore he shall be guilty under clause 2 of part 4 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949.
Yes, students. Due to paucity of time, I just take you forward through the clauses only and not examples. We will be reading out a few clauses, the remaining clauses of second schedule. And second schedule, so far as second schedule is concerned, students, again you can see in your book that professional, that is again part 1. Part 1 is dealing with professional misconduct in relation to chartered accountant in practice, and clause 1 is discloses information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any person other than his client. If I disclose my client's information, and clause 2 is if he certifies or submits in his name or his name of his firm a report of an examination, unless the examination of such such statements and the related record has been made by him or by partner or employee in his name in his firm or by another chartered accountant in practice. What I mean to say is, just go through those clauses. The clauses are not difficult enough. There are total, I tell you, 10 clauses, and then part 2 there are 4 clauses, and part 3 there is only 1 clause. So in this lecture we have told you how to study the clauses. So you should study the clauses by heart and should do very carefully students' professional ethics, because the weightage, having seen in the past examinations, the weightage is 16 marks. So you can score good marks in this question. So with these words, Thank you very much for your patient listening. And in case of any queries you have, you may send us on email karuna.bhansali@ici.in or rajeev.sachdeva@ici.in. You may ask your queries also on our contact number 0120 3045 925. Thank you so much, students.
Thank you, student.